moving in. That seems to be the only thing. Panzerfaust being fired off. But really a lot of manpower, a lot of fuel, a lot of munitions. And he really could be putting a lot of pressure. And still you have those pioneers standing around doing nothing. Oh dear. Vonvwesterwald, Vonvwesterwald. What am I to do with you? Sherman gone up in smoke, apparently not getting out of there in time. And continuing to float in manpower. I'm curious what's going through his head. I mean, a bit of help. Use hotkeys. F1, right quarters. F2, Wehrmacht. F3, Krieg. F4, Sturm. And F5, Panzer Command. Just use that and use those hotkeys. Just do something. Pump out Volksgrenadiers, more Stuks, but really just don't float around this much manpower. And I'm really not seeing anything that could really warrant this lack of anything, really. We do see finally some Stuks coming out, but still a lot of manpower. I'm not sure what he wants to do with it. If he wants it for a King Tiger, it doesn't require that much manpower. It only requires 500. No pioneers to try and salvage this wreck. In fact, he barely has any infantry left now. And while the American, on the other hand, has like 4 ranger teams. That's 2 ranger squads and a flamethrower team of engineers. This is, oh dear. Vonvwesterwald, you are breaking my heart. And now veterans 3 for the armor and the infantry. Oh dear. Will certainly help those Dukes a bit, but it's certainly not going to be the ultimate solution. And certainly if Mr. Spartakus could pressure a bit harder and use a bit more cover, he could certainly be pushing the advantage a lot more. A single propaganda war, for example, could also turn this away, at least temporarily, and give more time for those Dukes to arrive. Second Stuk moving in, Rangers charging right in. First barrage missing very gravely, and now we see armored skirts, which will certainly protect against all those bazookas. So that's certainly advantageous for those Sturmgeschütz. Rangers now retreating in the face of this, but really I think they could have lasted longer, perhaps gotten into this building, gotten around the Stuks instead of just standing right in front of them. And we do see the veterans 3 for the infantry continuing, but not really a lot of infantry. In fact, he hasn't done anything to reinforce or replace, really. No grenadiers. And there we go, King Tiger finally arriving. Will he actually get it, and will he actually get something besides it? There we go. King Tiger, schwere Panzerabteilung 503. Finally arriving to perhaps put some steel into the back of Mr. Vonvwesterwald to push him into actually doing some attacks, because really, again, there are so many times where he probably could have pulled off an assault and pushed his way through. But he just sits around floating manpower and fuel and munitions. I mean, now 700 munitions. What I wouldn't give to have that in a match. And now moving in, veterans 3 Volksgrenadiers, another Stuk, and just tentatively holding on instead of actually attacking and really putting the dread into the Americans with all this armor, with all this veterancy. And what is no, looked like there was going to be some sort of attack, but it seems to have fizzled out already. Rangers continuing to move out in large numbers. All of those bazookas can certainly be nasty. And we also have the howitzer not having been fired yet, apparently ready to use it for some priority target. Really use the element of surprise, which is certainly not a bad thing. Again, sometimes the best weapon can just be surprising your opponent with something. And now Rangers charging in. Will they be hitting from all sides? Mortars joining in to support King Tiger, taking shots to the rear from the bazookas. Very nasty. Rangers apparently waiting to move in from the south as well. These Rangers, though, look to be heavily suppressed from all this machine gun fire. I do apologize. I'm not entirely sure what's going on today. And Rangers continuing to take a lot of fire. Stuks perhaps continuing to move into the field. And Nebelwerfer that has seemingly been abandoned. And we finally do see some propaganda war being used. Finally. Finally. About damn time. And Foes Grenadiers are still standing around doing nothing, and this Pioneer team have still to be used. I mean, really, there seems to be a lot of lack of attention to the battlefield, and I do wonder if he's actually paying attention, or if he's perhaps possibly having a fight with his wife, girlfriend, or his cat. And Rangers moving in from the rear, the barbed wire not protecting against bullets, certainly leaving those machine gunners rather exposed, but Stuk is ready to turn around, and King Tiger aiming its high velocity 88mm gun on those Rangers, going to be very dangerous. Further Stuks, still no offensive movements and maneuvers from the Wehrmacht forces. That's a lot of armor, that's a lot of firepower, yet he's not using it actually. That's really disconcerting. And let's speed things up in the hopes something actually happens. Foes Grenadiers now putting down barbed wire. The 91st having a bit of fun with the assistance of some Stuk Abteilung, albeit I can't say what. I believe the 91st didn't actually have any Stuks with it. Another Stuk, so now 4 Stuks on the field and a King Tiger. Surely he must be trying to use this. Surely he must be trying to put the pressure on the Americans, and no, instead the Americans are moving in with the Rangers once more, coming into the line of fire of this Stuk. Machine guns firing away alongside that gun, and not even setting in for the hunt. What is this? No! Stuks finally attacking. Stuks on the move, firing away at these Rangers who looks like they might be going for base assault. That's actually a bit curious. Wehrmacht quarters a bit exposed. Stuks now continuing the hunt. Another propaganda wall. This is marvelous. He's actually doing something. And we see Rangers getting fired upon. Well, the rest are getting out of there. These Rangers will have to get out of there as well. But still 800 munitions. And what is this? Howards are firing away, probably hoping to knock out some of those Stuks. Or no, firing right into the Wehrmacht base, hoping to perhaps knock out their Sturm Armory. And will the Germans finally attack? Will they use all of this armor? Perhaps some of this infantry as well? So no. Apparently I was hoping for too much. And the battle seems to continue on. We do see some armor from Mr. Spartakus. No, it is long range velocity guns for the high velocity guns, 76mm for the German tanks, plenty of Rangers, some howitzer artillery, nothing else though. And let's return to Mr. Vonvwesterwald and once more speed things up a bit. Flamethrowers being equipped for some other pioneers. Rangers coming right into the range of the Stuks. And looks like this Stuk might be overpowered by all of these bazooka rockets. Will it happen? Foes Grenadiers moving in to cover with MP40s. Some foot engineers are going down. Plenty of bazooka rockets, almost down to half health for that Stuk. Rangers, though, not joining in to help the other Rangers. All getting suppressed by all of this machine gun fire and gunfire. And oh dear, that was a wasted opportunity for these Rangers. And howitzer barrage going in, hitting right amongst all of this, killing a mortar team. And nothing else happening though. Still Mr. Vonvwesterwald is doing nothing, and what? There we go, Stuks actually moving out a bit, trying to take this central point, and artillery barrages once more homing in on the positions. Oh dear, gunner was killed by the howitzer barrage. Looks like 2 Stuks might be killed. My goodness, Vonvwesterwald, why aren't you getting those Stuks out of there? Those are war machines of the German Empire, not targeting reticles for the artillery. Oh dear, only 1 Stuk left after that, and it certainly is not in a good position, and that paint job is in a very terrible state. I don't want to know what Helmut will say of this. And once more the frame rate seems to have dropped rather drastically, and we do seem to have a rather curious spark here as the gun seems to be floating above this Stuk. Yes. And once more speeding up. Again, Vonvwesterwald seems absolutely determined not to actually attack the American. Even though, despite the fact that the only thing that's really holding the line usually is a single pack and then machine gun emplacements. And really all those Dukes and that King Tiger could tear it apart in seconds. And looks like the gun on the Duke was finally mounted again properly. Americans once more maneuvering out in the open against all of this armor. And Volksgrenadiers and MG42s, all a lot of firepower. And those Rangers are certainly getting torn apart by the 91st Luftlande Division, the Dukes, and of course the King Tiger. Heavy losses for the Rangers. And now a Duke maneuvering, getting fired upon. And we hear another howitzer barrage going off. Where will it hit? A bit too far it seems. Duke moving in for the kill though. Braving the bazooka rockets, getting hit by the pack. No support for it though. MG42 team cleared out. And we see a sniper all of a sudden. Still a lot of manpower, a lot of fuel, and even more munitions being floated. And not really using in no propaganda war, no firestorm, no anything. There we go, a propaganda war bite. Finally. But not really continuing the fight, it seems. Again, Vonvwesterwald seems to really chosen the rather lazy option of not really putting any pressure on, and I certainly suspect that this fight could probably have been over a lot earlier had he actually been a bit more aggressive, instead of just sitting back and enjoying his apple schnapps. M10's moving in further, and now Rifleman looks like he called in off-map combat group. We shall have to see how this goes. And Engineers going for this central point. Barely any points left for the Americans. Let's speed this up a bit. There we go, a fight. M10's moving in. Will the rest of the armor react to this, or will this Duke get knocked out by all of those M10s? And of course the pack now firing away, having gained veterancy 1 even. Quite interesting. And looks like this Duke will be lost. Or not, I'm not entirely sure. There we go, main gun wrecked. Volksgrenadiers having a bit of trouble taking the central victory point, and Vonvwesterwald is still not making a single move. This is quite incredible. M10's continuing to hunt him down, hoping to knock out that Duke. But apparently not able to penetrate the frontal armor. Quite unfortunate. There we go, frontal armor wrecked finally. One less Duke, and we hear artillery flying in on the German positions most likely. There we go, perhaps hoping to knock out that repair bunker. And Pioneers just standing around. I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. Again, I'm not sure why. He certainly seems to be barely doing anything half the time. If it's because he's wondering what to do, but even then doing not anything is still better than doing nothing. And now Volksgrenadiers being sent out in large numbers instead of Grenadiers. Another propaganda war, and still those Pioneers are just standing around doing nothing. Looks like the fight might actually finally be some movement. King Tiger moving ahead. Duke as well. Setting up a small security cordon. King Tiger knocking out the mortar team and the mortar itself. Pack being recruited by Rangers. Rangers otherwise taking the fight against